1847. After the doctor's cabin and the ledger filled with suffering, the house didn't get quieter. It got colder. Not outside, weather in Lowndes County could still pretend it was just heat, just humidity, just summer pressing down. The cold was inside the people, inside the choices, and Catherine was the first to voice the conclusion that had been forming in everyone's mind since the syphilis count came back. Not spoken as fear, spoken like strategy. She stood with Marcus where the windows stayed shuttered, where the air smelled faintly of carbolic cloth and something metallic that never left the paper. "We can't do it the way he wanted," she said. Marcus stared at her, slow to understand what it meant until she moved her gaze, just slightly, toward Sarah, toward the place where names and marriage plans were stacked like weapons. Catherine didn't look away. "No more marriages as transactions," she continued. "Not for us. Not for him. Not for whatever story the Sutton name keeps trying to write." Marcus swallowed. "You're saying no," he said, and it sounded less like a question than a warning. Catherine's mouth tightened. "I'm saying the risks are wrong." Because they had learned something from their father's journals. Something worse than brutality. They had learned that the world didn't respect excuses. When people wanted power badly enough, they found reasons to take it. And if Catherine became a tool through marriage again, if she offered her body, her reputation, her fertility as a bridge, then all the careful medical ledgers in the world would only buy time. Time for the next horror. Sarah stepped in like she'd been waiting for the argument to ripen. "You want freedom," Sarah said to Catherine, voice controlled. "But you're still treating marriage like a disease." Catherine turned to her sister. "It is a disease," she replied. "Polite one. A rot that spreads through appearances, through contracts, through the lie that consent can be manufactured after the fact." Marcus felt something twist in his chest, because he had seen what Catherine needed to keep that stiffness in her posture, what she needed to keep herself from breaking into pieces. And it wasn't only the fear of death. It was the fear of being used again. Sarah's eyes sharpened. "We can't withdraw," she said. "Not if we want him stopped. Not if we want the twins to be untangled from his network. We have to maneuver." Catherine's voice didn't rise. It hardened. "Then maneuver without opening our throats." She paused, and in that pause Marcus saw it. The real idea wasn't no marriage in the childish sense. It was no more surrendering ownership. Catherine had decided she would not let her life become evidence that someone else could use. Not after watching her father treat bodies like research materials. Not after watching enslaved people become receipts. "I will not marry," she said, "and I will not let them force me into it. If they want heirs, they'll find a way that doesn't require me to be traded like property." Sarah looked at her for a long moment. Then her expression shifted barely into something like respect. "Or calculation. And how do you propose we handle the twins?" Sarah asked. Catherine answered without hesitation. "We control the narrative. Not with another marriage." With a refusal so clear it became an alarm. A scandal they couldn't bury. A door slammed so firmly it forced everyone to scramble for alternate keys. Marcus felt sick with admiration and fear at the same time. Because refusal wasn't neutral. In 1847, refusing to marry wasn't a statement of independence. It was a declaration of war against the social machine that decided women were supposed to become leverage for men. Sarah exhaled slowly. "They'll retaliate. They will try," Catherine corrected. "But they don't understand what you and I have learned." And then Catherine turned her gaze back toward Marcus. "You've been documenting everything. Keep doing it. Not just for treatment. For proof. For patterns." Marcus's brow furrowed. "Proof of what?" Catherine's eyes narrowed, dark and certain. "Proof that the Sutton method isn't just cruelty. It's a system. It's a doctrine. It's something that can be exposed if we can't break it quietly." Sarah's mouth curled, bitter. "Exposed to whom?" Catherine's response was quiet, but it landed like a hammer. "To anyone who believes paper can be weaponized." Marcus understood then. The plan wasn't only to survive their father's legacy. It was to weaponize it. To turn the household itself into a courtroom. And Catherine's refusal, her refusal to marry, was the first move in that strategy. Not because she thought it would be easy. because she understood what men did when they couldn't control women through conventional means. They doubled down. So Catherine decided to give them less to grasp and more to break themselves on. Sarah studied her sister, searching for cracks, finding none. Then Sarah nodded once. "Fine," she said. "We'll try it your way." But Sarah's agreement wasn't gentle. It was conditional. "No marriage," Sarah repeated, like she was testing whether the idea would hold. "But we'll need leverage. We'll need structure. We'll need a plan so they can't replace your refusal with someone else's coercion." Catherine looked almost relieved. "Almost. Then we build the plan," she said. Marcus stood between them and felt something settle in his bones. Something he couldn't name without tasting dread. Because the horror of their world wasn't only violence. It was the way everyone claimed morality while using bodies as currency. And Catherine had finally stopped pretending the only way out was surrender. She would refuse, even if refusal demanded blood. 1847. Catherine's decision spread through Bell River the way rot spreads through fruit. Quiet at first, then suddenly everywhere. It began with a pause in conversation. Then with the way visitors looked at the windows, as if searching for the moment the household would crack. And finally with the kind of silence that wasn't peace. It was threat, because in Lowndes County, the law didn't always act like a lion. Sometimes it acted like a clerk. Paperwork, petitions, proper process. Men dressed their violence in procedures until no one could tell where authority ended and cruelty began. Sarah understood that as quickly as anyone. She gathered Marcus and Catherine in the study, the room where the journals lived and where the air always felt one step away from confession. "They'll respond," Sarah said. Marcus frowned. "Who?" Sarah didn't even pretend it was unknown. "Bernige and whoever he can reach." Then Thomas's circle, always Thomas's circle. Catherine's jaw tightened at the name. "They're not going to let us rewrite their world," she said. "So they'll try to force our bodies back into the roles they assigned." The first attempt came in the form of a concern. Bernige visited with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, bringing with him a local man, one of those figures who knew which rules belonged to whom. "Miss Catherine," he said, voice warm, formal. "Your insistence on refusing marriage has consequences. Not only for you, but for the standing of the household." Standing. The word sounded harmless until you understood that standing was just another kind of chain. Catherine met his gaze without flinching. "Standing for whom?" she asked. Bernige chuckled, as if she were charmingly naive. "Standing for property. Standing for legitimacy. Standing for the future." He leaned forward slightly, the way predators do when they want the prey to feel as if the decision is voluntary. "The twins are too powerful to be left unregulated," he said. "You understand that, surely." Marcus felt the room tilt. This wasn't only about Catherine anymore. It was about making Sarah and Catherine obey the boundaries their father never respected, boundaries he'd burned through. So now the world wanted to reassert itself. Sarah spoke next, calm as a blade held flat to the skin. "Are you threatening us with the courts?" Bernige shrugged, as if it were unfortunate weather.
"I'm suggesting action."
"If you won't participate in lawful arrangements, then lawful arrangements will be made around you." Marcus's hands curled at his sides. "Around us," he repeated quietly in his mind, because it was the ugliest part. The idea that they could be maneuvered without permission, that their refusal would be treated like an obstruction to someone else's plan. Catherine didn't rise to anger. She rose to cold clarity. "Then do it," she said. Bernige's smile sharpened. "You misunderstand. You can't simply refuse and expect the world to accept it." "Actually," Catherine replied, voice measured, "I can refuse. And the world can accept whatever consequence follows. That's how refusal works." The local man shifted uncomfortably, because even he couldn't deny that Catherine sounded like she believed her own words. Bernige continued, patient now, as if explaining a simple rule to a child. "Your position makes you vulnerable. If the household falls into uncertainty, others will intervene. Friends, advisors, guardianship petitions." Guardianship. The word carried a familiar scent. Control disguised as protection. Marcus watched Sarah's expression. She was absorbing every detail the way she absorbed medical notes. turning present words into future evidence. Sarah nodded once, as if agreeing to something she'd already decided. If you intend to petition, she said, then you'll need facts. You'll need documentation. You'll need to explain publicly why you believe you're entitled to override our decisions. Bernij's eyes narrowed. Publicly, he repeated like he didn't enjoy the taste of the idea. Sarah smiled without warmth. Yes, publicly, because Sarah knew something Catherine had only just begun to weaponize. Secrecy was where their father's cruelty thrived. Public exposure was where systems started to fear the spotlight. Bernij leaned back. You think you can frighten me with theatrics, he said. Catherine stepped closer. Her voice dropped, the way a curtain drops right before the worst scene in a play. No, she said. I think you're used to women who flinch at consequences. I won't. Bernij studied her for a long moment, as if deciding whether she was stubborn or dangerous. Then he made his offer, the one he hoped would undo her refusal without needing force. If marriage is too much, he said, then consider arrangement, legal recognition, limited terms. We can manage the details in a way that preserves your comfort. Comfort. Another word meant to make coercion sound like kindness. Marcus saw Catherine, what she was really choosing between. Not between marriage and no marriage. Between being traded quietly or refusing so loudly that everyone had to look. Catherine's answer came immediately. No arrangement. No limited terms. No terms made by men who intend to control women like property. Bernij exhaled through his nose. Then you leave us no choice. And with that, he left. But he didn't leave empty-handed. 2 days later, Marcus found copies of papers on his desk, brought in by a servant who pretended not to notice how carefully Marcus stared at each sheet. They're filing, the servant whispered, scared, in town, for guardianship review, for the twins' legitimacy, for the children that... The servant stopped. Marcus didn't. He sat down, opened the documents, and began reading. The language was surgical, claimed concern. It referenced stability. It suggested that refusing marriage made Catherine unfit in the eyes of society's rules. Unfit, as if a refusal to be coerced was insanity. Marcus's stomach turned, but his mind sharpened. He pulled out Colonel Sutton's breeding logs, medical notes, correspondence. If they wanted to argue legitimacy, then Marcus would give them the one kind of legitimacy that terrified men like Bernij, the kind written in undeniable records. He worked late, scratching comparisons in the margins, tracing timelines, building chains between statements and outcomes, turning their father's system into a map for evidence. Sarah found him at the table, ink-stained, eyes too bright. What are you doing? She asked. Marcus didn't look up. Preparing for court, he said. Sarah's posture tightened just slightly. With the papers? With proof, Marcus corrected, and for the first time he heard his own voice as if it belonged to someone else. Someone who wasn't only trapped by the plan, but steering it. Catherine entered quietly and stood behind him. They think they can override us, she said. Marcus nodded once. Then we show them the override they've been hiding. Sarah turned her gaze to Catherine, calculating. If we go public, she said carefully, we risk more than embarrassment. Catherine's answer was immediate. Good. Sarah blinked. Good? Catherine's eyes were hard. If they retaliate in secret, they can do worse than we already know. But if they retaliate in public, if they have to state their reasons out loud, then at least the world sees what kind of men they are. Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to believe Catherine had moved beyond fear. But as she spoke, he realized something darker. Catherine wasn't just refusing for herself. She was refusing so that when the blow came, it would come with witnesses. And witnesses made brutality harder to hide. That night, the house felt different. Not safer, just sharper. Like a blade being honed. 1847. They didn't wait for Marcus to finish reading the papers. Bernij understood something about women who refused. Refusal didn't stop men from taking what they wanted. It only changed the paperwork required to feel innocent. So the pressure came again. Faster, sharper, dressed in reason. 3 days later, a carriage arrived with 2 visitors, one a churchman with a gentle voice, the other a clerk with ink permanently under his nails. They asked for Catherine in the name of propriety. Catherine met them in the parlor where the shutters stayed half-closed, as if the house itself refused sunlight. Marcus stood nearby, silent, watching the way the churchman's eyes traveled. Not to her face, but to her position in the room. Power always seeks a diagram. The churchman began with careful phrases, soft as feathers over a blade. Miss Catherine, you must understand how your refusal appears to the community. Catherine's smile didn't reach her eyes. How does it appear? The churchman looked to the clerk, as if the clerk held the answers. The clerk cleared his throat and produced a document. Another set of claims, another attempt to box her in. This time it wasn't only guardianship. It was morality. It was concern dressed as doctrine. They spoke of scandal, of stability, of how a household should be managed for the good of the children. Words designed to make coercion sound like protection. Marcus felt rage rise, but Sarah's calm presence kept it contained. Sarah stepped forward. You're acting like Catherine refusing marriage is the same as abandoning responsibility, she said. The churchman's voice softened further, as if compassion could launder threat. We're trying to prevent harm. Miss Catherine, you can cooperate and reduce disorder. Catherine's gaze stayed fixed. Or you can cooperate and stop forcing disorder onto me. The churchman paused, caught between politeness and the reality that Catherine wouldn't play her part. Then Bernice's clerk added the real consequence, the one that made Marcus's skin go cold. If you remain unwilling, arrangements may be made through legal channels to secure a proper match for the household's future. Proper match. As if proper meant inevitable. As if Catherine's body wasn't a boundary but a resource to be assigned. Marcus stepped forward, finally unable to stay quiet. Legal channels require evidence and due process, he said, voice controlled. Not intimidation. The clerk looked annoyed, because Marcus had spoken like a man who believed procedure protected people. Procedure only protected those who had power to weaponize it. Bernice's men didn't argue. They didn't need to. They left behind another notice, dated, signed, and sealed, stating that Catherine's refusal had been recorded as a sign of instability, and that a further hearing would take place soon. When they were gone, Catherine exhaled slowly. Her hands were steady, but her eyes weren't. They're going to try to replace my refusal with their decision, she said. Sarah nodded. And they'll do it with guidance, with advisors, with men who pretend they're saving you from yourself. Marcus felt his throat tighten. What if they succeed? Catherine looked at him, and for a moment Marcus saw exhaustion underneath the hardness. Something animal, something trapped. Then they'll prove what we already know, she said quietly. That refusing isn't enough. We have to make their coercion impossible to hide. Sarah's gaze sharpened. We'll do it your way again, she told Catherine. Witnesses. Catherine's expression shifted, approval but also dread. We'll make them state the reasons in front of the right people. Marcus frowned. Which people? Sarah answered without hesitation. People who will remember what they hear. Then the house fell into a new kind of preparation, one that didn't involve medicines or ledgers or journals. It involved names, contact, reputations. Sarah sent word through reliable channels, quietly asking for attendance at a public hearing in town. Requests phrased as community interest, as concern, as a household matter. No one said, we're inviting witnesses. They didn't need to. In Lowndes County, everyone already understood what could be turned into gossip. And gossip, in the right hands, became evidence. Meanwhile, Bernice wasn't idle. That same night, Marcus found a note slipped under the study door. No signature, just a threat written like a promise. Your father's influence still carries weight. Don't pretend you can rewrite it. You'll regret it. Regret was the language of men who wanted obedience without accountability. Marcus showed Sarah. She read it once, then folded it carefully, as if controlling the paper controlled the danger. They're trying to scare us, Sarah said. Catherine stepped into the room. They can't afford for us to look united, she replied. Sarah's mouth curved, thin and sharp. Then we'll look more united than they expect. But unity didn't mean softness. It meant coordination. So they did something their father had taught them, only they used it against him. They decided the story before it could be spun. They wrote statements, each woman's intent in her own voice, each refusal explained as reasoned choice, each demand anchored in the medical records and the documented damage their father inflicted. Marcus worked late, building timelines and correspondence chains, making sure every claim had a paper trail. Because Bernige didn't fear Catherine's will. He feared documentation. He feared the day someone in town asked a question he couldn't answer without admitting the truth. Next day, at supper, the household felt like a stage before the curtain rose. Not celebration, not dread exactly. Anticipation, the kind that comes when you know the blow is coming, and you're arranging where it lands. Catherine lifted her cup, not drinking. If they try to take me through marriage again, she said softly, they will do it in front of people who know what proper really means. Sarah's eyes glinted. And if they try something worse in secret, she began. Marcus finished the thought, voice barely above a whisper. Then we'll have records. We'll have witnesses. And we won't let their silence survive the telling. Outside, the night pressed close. Inside, they sharpened their refusal until it was no longer merely a no. It became a weapon.